In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace the driver front axle on your Acura MDX located behind the front wheel. Let's get started. Here on the front left, using a 19mm socket, we're going to remove the tire. Remove the tire. Using a 36mm socket, we're going to remove the jam nut. And take it out. Moving to the lower control arm, we're going to remove this clip by sliding it out of the place. Next, we're going to remove the nut using a 19mm ratcheting wrench. Let's get it out. Remove the nut. Now we're going to grab a hammer and tap around this area just to break this loose. Now you can use a small pry bar to make sure that it's separated. Now I'm going to use a bigger pry bar to pull down on the control arm to get it out of the knuckle. Now we want to tap on this area to make sure that the spindle moves freely. Once you get the axle off the spindle, we're going to simply move these out of the way and get the axle off. Moving to the transmission side, we're going to be prying on it with a small pry bar. One thing to mention, you want to have an oil pan underneath. Sometimes, depending on the angle of the vehicle, you may or may not leak some of the oil. I highly recommend you use a clean pan to be able to measure how much comes out, so you know how much you're going to be putting back in. Get your pry bar in between the transmission and the axle and pry it out. After you pry it out of the transmission, just simply slide it out of the way. Now we're going to slide the new axle in the same way it came out. Make sure you lined up the splines. Once you lined up the spline, you can just easily tap it in until you hear it bottom out. Next up, we're going to move the whole knuckle assembly out of the way and slide our axle in place. You're going to try to line it up with the spline and push it in. Just like that. After we get our axle into the hub, we're going to grab a pry bar, pry down on the control arm, and line up the bottom ball joint. Once you line it up with the hole underneath, just push it in. Now we can start our nut by hand. If you can get a torque wrench over here, the foot-pounds torque will be 65, but in this case, we're going to use a ratcheting ratchet to get it tight. Just do your best. And don't forget to install the cotter pin, slide it into place, and make sure you hear it click. Now we're going to install the axle nut, start it by hand, and bottom it out. Snug it up. Now we're going to torque the axle nut to 242 foot-pounds, and to do so, I grab myself a flathead screwdriver, stick it in between the rotor and the caliper just to hold it in place. Apply some pressure and it should stay on. And now we can stake the spindle nut. In this case, I'm gonna use a flathead screwdriver and a hammer. We wanna make sure we lock this over here. To do so, place it over and hit it with a hammer. Now we can install the tire back on. Start your lug nuts by hand. And snug them. Now we're gonna torque down our wheel to 80 foot-pounds in a star pattern. And you're all set.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.